Eileen, I think I'll give it to you to introduce Elaine. And thank you for being here, everybody who is here.
I agree. I appreciate everyone who's here, and particularly Elaine, who has been, as I mentioned, a heroine of mine. I had heard about the issue and tried to include our branch, which was very loosely associated, or actually at large, everybody in New Mexico for the 12, 16 people who are part of our membership. And unfortunately, not enough of them have the bandwidth because of the number of issues going on to help Elaine in her struggle to get a company called Castilian out, well, to do the right thing for our environment and for human beings, because water is going to be contaminated. The soil is going to be contaminated with this company, a rocket engine maker. And when I saw the legal things that Elaine was doing with such ease and dedication, and that means long hours, that's what dedication means. I was so impressed, and I went all out to help even more. And Handsome Harrison also was contributing, along with Nancy Price, because I work with the Earth Democracy Issue Committee, and Nancy got involved, and we just try to collaborate with Elaine through, well, the Quakers, through Vets for Peace. And she had already started some of these connections, but needed help with that. And that's something I could do, and so could Nancy. And so we did what we could, but Elaine knows how to run a show, a campaign to make things happen. But you know, when you've got millions of dollars working against you, and we don't have that, although Elaine managed to get some funding. Sometimes money wins, but we don't want them to win with the SPEED Act, which she had sent me information about. I had been so involved with other things, I missed this important act that passed through the House of the Congress. And when she said that she had a presentation to share that's all polished up, I knew it was going to be great. And and you know, not everybody has the bandwidth to do things when they're healthy. Elaine is also struggling with some issues of health, and her heart is in this without a doubt, and my heart is with her and her work. So that's my intro.
Thank you, Eileen. Um, yeah, it's this has come at us very fast. This is being backed by the tech bros. They come in fast, they break a lot of things, and that's exactly what they did here. And now what we have in front of us in the Senate is the SPEED Act. And I just want to kind of get into that a little bit here. I'm going to get my notes up here and just let you know. I don't know if all of you know what the SPEED Act is. So I'm going to start at the beginning. Project Ranger it was part of Project Jupiter and the Golden Dome of merging AI with weapon systems and do into space and hypersonics. And that was used to be the Star Wars when Reagan came about. And they spent over $1 trillion and it then went away. Now it's back and it's on steroids. So, but what's happening, how Project Ranger came to be without any permits, without any public hearings, is the story that I want to tell. I also want to let you know that Wired Magazine will be doing a feature story on this. And so we will start getting some more national coverage on this. We worked really hard. We've been working with them. They have acknowledged all of our facts. They have fact-checked everything. They're ready to write the story. This has been a 3-month thing where we've worked with the journalists researching this. They came to us. And that was really interesting off of the writing that I was doing on Substack. And Zach, who was running for mayor, used this in his campaign, and that's what caught their attention. So I just want to kind of give you kind of a backstory on that. What the SPEED Act could do is institutionalize the NEPA, and that will not be good.
And NEPA is the National Environmental Protection Act.
Yes. And the SPEED Act is short for Standardizing Permitting and Expediting Economic Development Act. And it's presented as a permitting reform. Supporters argue that it will streamline environmental review and reduce delays for projects involving infrastructure, energy, artificial intelligence, and national security. The question is not whether the permitting can be improved. The question is whether these reforms preserve NEPA's core, the National Environmental Protection Act core. And that purpose of that act was to ensure environmental review, public participation, and informed decision-making, which occurs before irreversible commitments are made. And Project Ranger provides us a real-world example of why that question matters. Supporters described the SPEED Act as a permitting fast-tracking. It's just basically more deregulation under the guise of national security. And it is intended to fast-track artificial intelligence, energy, and defense manufacturing. So it's just not simply faster permitting. The concern is that the permitting reform may permanently change when environmental review occurs and how much influence communities can retain before irreversible commitments are made. So historically, NEPA required agencies to examine environmental impacts, alternatives, cumulative effects, tribal consultation, public concerns before federal decisions are made. And that sequencing matters because environmental review is intended to inform decisions, not justify decisions that have already been made. And increasingly, however, we're seeing a different model emerge. What is happening is that the funding comes first, and then they put all the funding and contracts in place for the infrastructure. And then maybe, if we're lucky, we'll get an environmental review. This has not happened with Project Ranger at all. By the time the review begins, billions of dollars have already been committed. Roads under construction, utilities extended, financing approved, bonding approved, passed on to ratepayers and taxpayers, and political expectations are established. at that point, environmental review becomes less meaningful. It's just not happening. And the practical pressure shifts towards completing the project have shifted, where now Project Ranger has 30 buildings, and they've done this within 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
God.
just, they have expedited things very fast. It's not about evaluating whether it should proceed anymore. And this is where Project Ranger becomes important, because while this isn't the focus of today's presentation, Project Ranger is a proposed hypersonic solid rocket motor manufacturing and static fire testing facility. But it also states in their contracts that they are a weapons manufacturing facility. That means they have opened this up. While they have always stated it was for solid rocket motors in their community presentations, they have something different in their contracts. And so the facility is in Sandoval County. It's about 4 miles northeast of my home up on the mesa. And it's supported by public financing. There is no federal funding. The only federal funding that is happening is something that has been put in place for an extension of Paseo Volcan, and that EIS was done in 2002 when there wasn't any Project Ranger. So now we could trigger NEPA and say that we need a supplemental EIS, but that's not happening either. They have decided that they are going to do what they call a defense access road, and they're going to try to say this is now national security and they can take over and do what they want. So this is the public financing that's there now is the Local Economic Development Act, called LEDA, with their incentives, the industrial revenue bonds, the IRBs, and a related structural investments, which I did a report on the risk exposure of the state's investment council. And we discovered over the last 8 years, they have been quietly funding private equity and venture capital to invest in AI and in weapons manufacturing coming into the state. Also, real estate and other issues using pension funds.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes. So we have now have even a worse situation when we've discovered how they have been slowly over the last 8 years funding this without any real public oversight. And I pulled all the public records for this, and I can now release that report because we have had it vetted by a risk exposure analyst. And believe me, I was not a business major. I'm an art major. And all these numbers, it's been a real learning curve for me. So I've had to really enlist the help of professionals to kind of walk through to make sure that what I'm writing and what I'm putting forth based on the record that has come forward is in fact correct. So this was advanced through a series of land and financing. So the state land office was in on this. They knew about Project Ranger back in May of last year. And then they got all the funding in place. Now, I write on Substack. So if you want to find out more about what's going on here, I suggest that you read my Substack essays. And I did a 3-part series on the water issues and various other issues associated with this. And we do have a PhD who is doing a case study on this issue, just in regards to the supply chains that go into the military industrial complex and to weapons production in New Mexico. Because now with the increased budgets that they have, billions of dollars, they have decided that they're going to start pit production again at Los Alamos, which means to Native communities that are uranium mining, they're going for all of the resources around New Mexico and impacting all these communities. And this is why it's so hard, because we're being inundated from so many different directions because of this administration and their warmongering. So whether you support or oppose the project, Project Ranger illustrates a broader national concern. How major defense and AI-related projects can advance through phase approvals before communities have a meaningful opportunity to evaluate the cumulative environmental, public health, and democratic governance impacts that we are facing here. Mm-hmm. And it is the example. That's why we call Project Ranger a case study rather than a simple local controversy. And we realized that fast because they were obstructing us even getting our public information, any of our IPRA requests that we were asking for. I still don't have a lot of it. And they just basically gave us little by little, trickled it out, basically. So this demonstrates that the very sequencing that many communities fear could become institutionalized under a broader permitting reform like the SPEED Act. So what the SPEED Act, this is like the blueprint. For Project Ranger is the blueprint of what the SPEED Act can do. Yeah. If it passed. And so financing first, infrastructure second, environmental review maybe afterwards. So here comes the larger questions for us. The public financing, the infrastructure, the defense, the industrial approvals advanced before we have cumulative environmental review. And combined with the hazardous materials and waste coming out of there, the transportation corridors that we don't even Sandia, we unredacted the Sandia report, which they tried to cover up to show what the impacts of this facility would be. And we found that anyone within a half a mile to 2 miles will most likely experience hearing loss, because they'll be doing this testing that is at sonic boom level of 125 decibels, and this will be going on at least 4 or 5 times a day. They want to do 500 missiles within the first year, and they have said in other articles that it will be over 1,000 missiles a year. That means they would double the amount of waste coming in and out. And there's nothing that is protecting the environment at this point. We have 4 municipal wells that supply drinking water to over 150,000 people or more. And so our larger question of the SPEED Acts, reaches far beyond the highways or the pipelines. It just really starts at we really have to start we've never had public participation, a meaningful public participation. I requested a pre-detonation plan, which is required by law under NEPA. And excuse me. And I've had it set up with the Environment Department, and because of all the fugitive dust coming off the site, because the site is 2 miles by 1 mile. It's a massive complex out there. And the dust just blows all over the place, which means when they start detonating, all those contaminants are going to blow all over the place, because this is what they're doing when they're constructing it. They're not following the law, just basic fugitive dust. So, of course, they canceled the meeting because they didn't want to deal with the questions. So we're now kind of waiting. So the question for your organization, and I was trying to raise some real fundamental questions that might be in your ecosystem here. How do we preserve democratic accountability when national security is increasingly invoked to accelerate development? How do we protect environmental justice if frontline communities have less time? How do we ensure that cumulative impacts are evaluated before, not after, public money has been committed? And these are questions about democratic governance as much as they are about environmental law. And NEPA was never intended to be a bureaucratic obstacle, but it was enacted because what Congress recognized what NEPA should be. So this is why we describe Project Ranger as a blueprint rather than the exception. And so I was hoping that WILPF's leadership would help us, and their membership here today will help ensure that permitting reform does not become the erosion of democratic accountability. That we ask you that if you can advocate for reforms that preserve NEPA's core now, and a cumulative environmental review, tribal consultation, and meaningful public participation before major financial infrastructures are committed. And we ask you to educate the membership about the intersection of militarization, artificial intelligence, environmental justice, and accelerating permits. This is finally, this passed the House and it went to the Senate, and it's still sitting in the Senate. We don't know if it's still in committee or not. We were trying to get some background on that and see what the status was. And that might be helpful if you can contact your representatives and senators. Now, Senator Heinrich of New Mexico and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island was going to do a permitting reform of this Speed Act. But they don't touch NEPA in their reform. It's worthless. Okay. Unfortunately. And so we just have to kill the bill. It just doesn't, we have to keep it in committee or have it pulled in some way. But I just don't think that we're going to get the votes if this goes forward, because we have some Democrats that will probably vote for it. Like I know Senator Heinrich most likely will do that because he's all for Project Ranger. He's all for this, and they don't care. None of our, it's so corrupt that none of the governors push this through. They have both sides of the aisle pushing this through. They have hundreds and hundreds of people trying to stop the gas takeover of Blackstone, of our public utilities, of our gas and electricity. We have Project Jupiter down south that is an hyperscale that is part of this. And these tech bros are the least that need subsidies, right? This is Anderson Horowitz. This is Lightspeed. This is in the same ecosystem as Peter Thiel. These are the people that have come in here and have put their money down, had the state financing all the infrastructure, and there hasn't been any federal funding. So there's no NEPA because there's no federal funding. So we can only go for NEPA on the roads because that's where the federal funding that we've been able to find. But they have not even put permits up on any of the websites for the Environment Department on this, and they're almost completed the project. And so that's what we're looking at when we're looking at the SPEED Act. That's what's going to happen all over the country. And if you look at various, I don't know if you've seen the various AI data centers that are going up, that Aaron Brockovich was putting together a database. And there's a link that shows how many data centers are going, 19 in New Mexico alone. And so, and there are various types of, they're not all hyperscale data centers, but they do take a lot of water and electricity. And all that infrastructure is being taken from farmers and taken from residents. And as far as water is concerned, and we're in the middle of a drought, we have no water in the Rio Grande right now. And I'm pushing that they make a call on the river and stop all development. I just think that we have gotten to the point where it's going to take major court. Now, we have talked a little bit to the Sierra Club, who has tried to go and talk to some of these people for us, and they have not gotten anywhere either. So we do have people who want to support us here, but we are spread really thin because of all the various issues that are hitting us from different directions, everything all at once, all the time. This is what it is here, living in on the front line of this. So we ask you if you can encourage Congress to strengthen and not weaken the safeguards that allow communities to understand and that they are able to participate in decisions affecting air, water, land, and our future. Project Ranger is the warning. We're warning everybody. And the question before us is whether the SPEED Act will make this sequencing the national standard. So I can answer any other questions that you might have, but I think that was my 10 minutes. Maybe more. I tried to keep it down.
Well, no, it was great. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions? I'll take the other questions before I ask mine. Okay, I see Ginger's hand is raised, and then Mary Hanson Harrison. So, and then Nancy Dietrich. So, Ginger, why don't you go ahead? Unmute.
Are you muted?
Okay. Thank
There
you,
you go.
Elaine. This was such a terrific talk that I can't wait for it to be put in writing and to be on the website. Diane, would you have any idea when it will go on WILPF's national website? And and I assume it will. And I would love to help get the word out and get people talking about it in Massachusetts, where I live, and also in Missouri, where I used to live, and you know, make sure that your talk and your knowledge about this gets spread around as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a PDF that I sent Eileen, and today's statement that I read into the record here. So
I can figure it
you've
out.
got that.
Really can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Next.
Mary?
Yeah, I'm on the ground here, so to speak. In the ground, on the ground. I'm a new person moving in here, but my son is at the UNM. And what I find is the community itself, because community building is one of our big, as you know, where we have to get people on the streets, right? We have to get out there's different, I don't know, it's maybe they're overwhelmed, but I know some of the people in Rio Rancho are profiting by this, and they have louder voices. We haven't got people out on the streets here. And we had a lot for No King's Day. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people out. And so the strategy that we could use here, I mean, I could talk, our mayor lives right down the street from me, so we have some fairly interesting conversations. And also, the tribal people are not, I don't know how you find that, but I have heard and talked with a couple of people from the tribal organizations, and they see it as employment. So what can we do here? How can we, I'm an interloper, you know, I'm not a native here. But I, I, I can't imagine, that we can't get people out on the street. However, the problem is that the idea is that, of profit, for working people, labor.
It's not really that, because
No, okay, it looks like that from the outside.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it looks like that. And I think that the idea of coming and speaking more often, it's very difficult to try to, especially at the university, sort of the ingrained research type, right? And some people have turned around and said, well, you know, New Mexico is the experiment that you know, just what can we do? We're already done.
It's inevitable, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. We're already done. Yes.
But it's not. I've been here 35 years, and um, the pueblos change governors every year, and every year you have a different monarchy that is in charge. And so right now at Santa Ana, Pueblo is one of the pueblos that have more money because of the gambling. The governor worked for Sandia Labs. So that whatever we do to try to engage the government of the tribes falls on deaf ears. So, and that might change next year, when we have a new governor in there. And that makes it very difficult sometimes to count on tribal governments so you have to look at what they look at. And they were not given any tribal consultation. That means those are the issues that the tribal governments look at. They were told this is coming, and it's an industrial in this area. They weren't taught, they didn't give all the rundown for Project Ranger. I have that information from the IPRA that I did. So I know what tribes were contacted, and I know what they said. And only one tribe out of 9 asked a couple of questions, and they were against it. So not all the tribes are for this. And definitely not many of their tribal members are for this. And we have been out on the street on the corner of 550 and 528. I can't get out there because I can't get access because I have my walker. But we do have Veterans for Peace have been out there for us with signs and so forth. The issue with Albuquerque Indivisible and No King's Day is that every time we have gone to try to speak to the crowd there, they have bumped us.
Wow.
And so I've been very kind of upset. And they said, well, you can come to our monthly meeting. Well, it's not the same. And so we've got bumped several times. And it's from the mayor. And it's from the candidates that are running, because that's more important to them, is to get these centrists up there than to tell the crowd what the centrists are doing to them. And that's really kind of the issue here. And then when you look at Sandoval County, we have been gerrymandered so badly here for 10 years that no matter what Democrat tries to run, we can't get the votes. So we have been totally taken over by the Heritage Foundation. They kind of run the show. They get their attorneys into office here as city managers, and so they run they run the city, they run the county, and so that's been our issue. Even though we know it's gerrymandered, there's people doing that here, trying to figure that out, like the Democratic Party and other progressive organizations are doing more things about that. But that's what makes it difficult for us to come forward. I wasn't even allowed to speak at the public hearing in the city. They would not allow me to get up on the Zoom to speak. So, because they know if I get this into the record, they have to account for it. And so, and if I try to file an ethics complaint, which I try to do, it goes nowhere because they have attorneys all the way up the line into the state ethics committee. This is one of the most corrupt states to try to get something done. But we can win on stuff. We won against the fracking out here. I've been able to stop all this stuff for over 20 years out here. But I can't stop it if we don't have public participation, if we don't have public hearings, if we
Right.
don't have permits being pulled, if we don't have the law being followed. And so I have went to every attorney in the state and in California that I can think of. Earth's Justice turned us down 3 times. Every time I would come forward with the administrative record, I tried to get them to say, is this better now? Is this something you can work with? And they just don't want to come to New Mexico because they know what they're up against here. And so we basically have become a sacrifice zone. And right now, the Deb Haaland is running for governor, and she passed over Harold Pope, who is a state senator. He would have been our first Black lieutenant governor. He got the most votes after Maggie. Maggie had to drop out after the primary. She has cancer. She can't compete. So instead of asking Harold Pope to be her lieutenant governor, she went to the state land office, who sold us out, who voted for all of these private equity and venture capitalists, and sold the leasing out on Project Ranger. And she stopped the gas line today at Project Jupiter, and everybody's, they have asked me, they have called me up. I've had 5 phone calls to take down my writing and my essays on Stephanie Garcia Richards. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, then don't write anything more about her.
Well, tell us.
No, I'm not going to do that either. So,
can you tell us something about her now?
Yeah, who is she? Yeah, what's up with her?
Who? Stephanie Garcia Richards?
Yeah, right.
She has now got the endorsement of Deb Haaland for lieutenant governor. And so on Monday, it's not over yet, because the Central Committee for the Democratic Party has to vote. And so Deb might want her, but Harold Pope is still out there campaigning. And so they vote on the 18th for who they want to run as lieutenant governor. That's why they want me to take down my social media posts and all my posts on Stephanie Garcia Richards. And I refuse to. And I even was threatened to get fired from my research job if I didn't take it down. And I was kind of shocked by that, but and it saddened me. I was disappointed, but it's not going to stop me. And so I've decided that I'm going to still speak truth to power while we can, because this is not a. I also want to say that on August 8th, and 7th and 8th, on the 8th Saturday, there is a conference at the Peace and Justice Center in Albuquerque that I will be speaking at on Project Ranger. And I'm hoping that some of our groups locally, like PSL and some of these other groups, young people, SWAP, some of our environmental justice groups will come forward and help us, because we do have to go door to door to some of these people here. We do have to put out a Spanish-speaking flyer to the people who live within 2 miles of this that will have hearing loss as a result. They will start detonating in November. And so we don't have a lot of time. And we don't have the support of even our environment department that will protect the people from these health impacts. So that's how bad it is. And as you know, I just went through surgery myself, and I'm healing and I'm recovering, but it's very stressful to watch your water being poisoned. And because it's not going to take 10 years for it to get into the aquifer because of the geology here, because of the sand, because of the basalt fractured geology here. It just is like a sieve. And so when this comes, it spreads wide when it floods. And all these contaminants are going to come off, and they're going to go right into the aquifer. And it is already low, and it is already has problems. And this is only going to make it worse. So it's been very hard to sit and watch this. So and so we've been doing what we can do. But we need help in talking to people like at, I know that Albuquerque Indivisible wants to help and support as much as possible. Rayanne's brother worked at one of the SpaceX things that they were doing all this testing in McGregor, Texas. And they ended up, after all the testing started and all the houses had cracked windows and stucco falling off of it, that they started putting in mitigation and monitoring. But it wasn't until people started being harmed that that we then could file a lawsuit, right? And so there's nothing now that is stopping them from continuing what they do. Andrew just had like I mentioned in the beginning, the explosion down in McHenry, Mississippi, and that put them back 3 years. So one explosion out there will put them back so far that they will not be able to meet the employment issue that they are required to have within 3 years of on that site at Project Ranger. So, and these happen often, and everyone that has, every community that has had one of these static fire testing sites have polluted water. And so Pat Elder has given us a whole list, and we're finding more and more on different government sites, if it hasn't been already taken down. And so a lot of the information that we've had access to 4 or 5 years ago, you know, we don't have access to that. And we have to find those scientists that wherever they've gone to try to help us. So that's where we're at. And it's not good. But the SPEED Act is something we can do. SPEED Act, when it comes to this national thing where we can make calls, you can get those calls into your senators. You know, I think that phone calling really does a really good job on something like this. When they go vote, they will probably drop it in a reconciliation bill and just pass it. but we have to stop that from happening. But we have to know where it is, and nobody's talking about where it is right now.
Yeah, I tried looking too. We've got a couple of other questions, Elaine, or
Okay,
who's next? Nancy?
Nancy?
Hi, thank you for sharing this. I didn't know anything about.
Hello?
You just got muted. Still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my audio, but I did not know anything about the Speed Act until I got the notice about this meeting tonight. So thank you for sharing. It's very scary. I live in Illinois where we're trying to stop a data center from being built in our county, which is what really, when I saw that about this includes data centers, it kind of piqued my interest. We're having a teach-in about what we can do about data centers in a couple weeks, and I had volunteered to share what I learned here about the Speed Act and what we can do. I was trying to take notes, but you had so much great information. I know I missed stuff. So I had two questions. I was wondering if there's like a really good resource. I will listen to your talk again from the YouTube branch playlist, but I was wondering if there are any resources you could share that I could look at about the Speed Act. And the other thing I specifically had a question about something that you said. You said that they are trying to like there's a sequencing of events that this would change. Could you repeat what you said about that? I didn't quite catch that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because usually they do environmental issues first. And so what they do is they put the financing first. They put the contracts for the infrastructure second. And they don't sometimes even go to do the environmental issues. So the sequencing of how they go about this. So that's why it's been so hard for attorneys to take our case, is because they don't see the permit that they can challenge. They don't see, there's no permits being pulled. They get, and matter of fact, I found that they are just approving the financing on intervals as the construction is completed. It's like they're drawing from the bank, right? It's like if you're building a home and you have to take your first draw, and then you take a second draw, and then you don't get your third draw until, it's almost completed. That's exactly what they're doing with Project Ranger. And they're getting away with it. That's the sad part. And that sequencing is, and segmentation. So they keep it apart. So the contracts are separate over here. The county meeting is separate from the cities, and they're doing different contracts to these vendors. It's not like they are showing you, they did the IRBs back in August that nobody knew what they were doing with that, because nobody even came forward with a lease on this, and they hadn't even admitted that they were even coming to New Mexico. So if you looked at any of the articles, we didn't even know. And they've done this for data centers. And this is the thing. They've used this sequencing in various data centers back east to ram this through. And they did this with Project Jupiter here. And now they're doing it with this military weapons systems. And so it was first done with some of the AI data centers back east. So I did send my Google Drive folder with Eileen and Nancy to it has my brief, and it has in there a bunch of citations that you can look up about this. I believe they did this in Wisconsin as well, using this method, this pattern. So this is a pattern that they have found useful, and they're doing it all over. So
I'm
Thank you.
also putting the actual act written out for the House of Representatives and Congress in chat to know what has been passed and its context. I hope that helps, Nancy.
You said it's in chat?
I'm about to put it in chat.
Okay,
I just looked it up.
great. Thank you.
Okay,
so
Darren.
my Substack is up there, and there's Darren who had his hand up.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
he's left? No, I thought I saw him up here.
I'm
but
here. I'm Darian.
Oh, okay, Darren. Okay,
Darian.
Darian.
I just wondered, you mentioned you have a PDF. Is that PDF available online? Because if it is, you could put the URL for where it's located online in the chat, and people would be able to get it right away.
I've given the PDF to Eileen and Nancy Price.
Right.
And-
I'm just saying it would be a way for people to get it directly right now if it's already online someplace.
No, it's not online yet.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't put these things online because I don't want Castilian in the military all over it. And so that's been part of the issue. I've just been sharing it with groups privately. And so that's been part of the thing. Plus, I haven't had time to update the website. That is, I am meeting with some people this next week. Hopefully, I will be able to start getting some people to work on some of these things for us, because it's been a lot. It's been overwhelming. And as this thing is coming forward, we do have an attorney that this is the big might, they might do a restraining order on Project Ranger, but that should have been done in October. And but we are they're trying to restrain the detonation so that we can get the pre-detonation plan going. I think that's really important for us, so we're not inundated, 24/7 with sonic booms. But we'll have to see how that plays out, because that was a peace offering so that I would take down my stuff with Stephanie Garcia Richards.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I have a question and also a comment. There,
I have to laugh sometimes, because this is just really, this is too much.
and I'm amazed you're holding up as well as you are.
Well, I do want to cry sometimes, but this doesn't help my health. So, but it's hard. It's not an easy thing, and I at some point I don't, new people want to come in to help, but I don't know them, right? So I have to build trust, and so it's really difficult for me sometimes to figure out how we can strategize. So I'm hoping that when I go to the Albuquerque Peace and Justice Center and I go to the groups that I've been used to working with, and that we reach out to some of the other groups like on higher ground, that we will be able. I'm part of an environmental justice coalition that has 140 groups nationwide. And so I want to be able to see where they can help with this. And but we have to kind of just submit a campaign where they make the call, make the calls. So if we get a group that puts that campaign together, then we can share it to a wider audience. And so that's what I'm hoping that would. I know Indivisible will help. I know the Sierra Club will probably help. I know that a lot of the local, we could probably get this larger A2 group to help with this, because they are dealing with local groups that are fighting AI, data centers, and military issues all over the United States. But right now, there's 5 rocket motor facilities going in across the United States, mostly in the South, mostly in poor areas. And this is a poor area here. Most of the people that are living within 100 yards of this place, they are in mobile homes and they're homesteading, and they haul their own water. It's like a colonius. And so it's a lot of it's off the grid. So we're trying to put together a citizens monitoring, so that we could get a baseline ourselves. And we have the University of Arizona that will process what we collect from the air monitoring. But that's a citizen science issue, so we need a group just to do that. So we're trying to be strategic about the people we bring in, if they know how to follow protocol in taking air sampling, and that we establish a baseline here with the way that we can do this. Some of the PhDs and scientists from the University of Arizona are helping us with that, building these air monitors and then going to take sampling and send it. So all we do is take the sampling, close the bag, date it, what the location is, and then mail it to them. And then they will come up with it. And they do everything across the board, even radionuclides. So it's very good, and it's pro bono. So that's a really big deal. So so there are things that are happening. It's just under the radar. And yes, I agree, Mary. We need to get out there and tell more people, because when I go to, get the Project Ranger, you can see the poster in the back. When I did that, they go, "What's Project Ranger?"
Right.
Nobody even knows, because all they're getting is the PR releases in the press on the local news, and none of them are contacting us. Mm-hmm. And that's why my writing and doing the essays, I've built up a following. At least 5,000 people locally read my stuff. And so that's at least with the algorithms, that's giving even further out there. And that's how I've had to do it. So it's not like it used to be organizing. And that's really, I've been trying to figure out the new way of organizing, a new way of getting to people, and we need younger people. And they're all, a lot of the younger ones like PSL and all of them, they're dealing with the ICE issue. They're dealing with, all these other issues that are going on in our community, and the war, the ICE, I mean, it's never mind Blackstone, never mind BCP, never mind, all these, but we feel like if we can, stop these private equity, if we can stop Blackstone, we will have won a really big deal, because they're the richest by far of all the private equity. And they have to be stopped in order for us to even be able to afford electricity in the years to come. And what they've done to our water here, if you've read my essay on that, our rates will go up to just a $60 tier 1 right now, might be $200 within 18 months, our bills. So it's just going to spiral out of control. And a lot of people aren't going to know what hit them.
Could I bring up what I think is a strange negative positive? If the Rio Grande is without water, with your constant issues with not having enough water, and when it comes too harsh, and therefore can't really replenish the aquifers, they need clean water. They will not have it. It's all going to be polluted. Isn't that a way of stopping them?
Yeah, this is probably the biggest issue that we can hit on. You're right.
And maybe Mother Nature, maybe we need to pray. I don't know.
Believe me, I know all the tribes are praying.
Yeah, right.
They do. They do. I know all the people. This is really a bad, it's really bad. I'm trying to just save my trees right now. I'm not doing anything different here. I'm not adding no flowers this year. It's just save the trees as best we can. But the heat has been relentless, and it's the evaporation that we're fighting in the drought. And it's there are a lot of people ringing that bell, that warning bell out there. And I try to do an essay once a month on water. I haven't done one this month because a lot of things were happening with Project Ranger and the explosions and different things. So, but it's the number one thing. You don't have water, you don't have a community.
That's true. Yeah.
And this whole thing is water is life. And Stephanie Garcia Richards wrote this press release saying, I believe in water is life. And I jumped on that one.
Yeah.
You did. You did. What about us over here? But so it was on Facebook. So Facebook, I have various groups on Facebook, various pages. So and I have a lot of different groups sharing my stuff out. So that helps. I just hope that she doesn't get the nomination for lieutenant governor. I would, but I have been told that she will get a consolation prize. She'll become cabinet secretary for MNERD, which will oversee the oil conservation division. And she will be able to clean up all the orphan wells in New Mexico. Isn't that great, Elaine? I go, well, if she has money to do it, I guess she'll be able to do it.
Yeah, but
It has nothing to do with her being a cabinet secretary. She needs the money. So I don't know how all this is going to play. Politics gets me crazy. You know, I don't have a lot of patience for these guys after 35 years. And so that's why I really count on people that I'm going to meet next week who will, you know, go and be kind of a liaison to start talking and building that. Now, I know that Sierra Club tried to do that with Stephanie Garcia Richards and with the Pueblos and started talking. And I said, well, here, you guys, you don't even know the questions to ask because you didn't come and ask me what is going on. You're telling me after the fact that you went and talked to them. And I don't think you understand the specifics of what we're dealing with. So I sent them the administrative record, you know, and I said, here's the administrative record. This is the work that I've done for, you know, the last 6 to 8 months. And this has it all. And this will answer your questions.
Mhm.
And this is really what's happening now. So I just wanted to say one thing. I know it's getting late and you probably have other things to do, but the State Investment Council risk assessment report, exposure report, I will send that to you and you can share it out. It is, a lot of people have read it. A few state representatives and state senators have read it. We would like to do a legislative reform to the State Investment Council. And that means that we have to go to the interim committees and talk to them about the reform that's needed. And that's where the Sierra Club, and that's where a lot of the other groups that, you know, have the ear of a lot of different legislators could really help us in doing that. I don't have the energy to do it all. And that's part of the issue. I need to start recruiting people to do that work. So, Cheryl?
Yes, I'm sorry. Circumstances meant I missed the first part of your talk. But you're talking about solid rockets that are going to be tested, that are it's going to make a lot of noise. That was one of the things you were talking about. And remind me what NEPA stands for, please.
National Environmental Protection Act.
Okay. Okay. And have you tried contacting Earth Justice? Earth Justice
Yes.
is something I have been, giving them money for 30 years. And this
I've
sounds
contacted them 3 times.
right.
And they won't take it. They won't take it. And I think it has to do with New Mexico. I don't think it's personal. And I don't think that it's not because we don't have a case. I
Right.
think that we have some issues with New Mexico and getting people here that have the law licenses to file what we need here. I think it's a logistics issue as well as they come from the same area that the tech bros are in Silicon Valley. And so
Well, they have one of their offices is here in San Francisco.
Yes, yes.
But I read what they do, and
Yeah, they do good work
they do
if
good
we
work
can get them.
all over. Right, but they only have so
They
many.
actually told us, the Sandia report isn't redacted very well. You might want to take a little look at that. And so finally, I sent it to one of our younger people that work with us. And all we had to do was copy and paste it into another document, and all the redactions went away.
Yeah. Anyway.
And that's how we found, it's the same thing in the Epstein files. They did the same thing when they redacted files, and that's the same kind of thing. But that's how we found out that we have an unredacted file. Now I posted that for everyone. I wanted the military to see that one.
I mean, it sounds like you've really done a great deal of work and gone into a great deal of detail and educated yourself. And I'm assuming on your Substack and what have you, you are trying to educate your public there in New Mexico. And
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Wired article coming out, because this will be a community event, bent on their article of, I was able to prove everything that I'm saying. Everything is fact checked. Everything passed them. So I passed Condé Nast. So I guess that says something, because they don't write unless they have the facts. And I turned over basically my files to them, and so that they could look through. And I'm not, because they're all public records, it's not like I have any, I was able just to put the public record together to tell the story. And that's basically it.
Good, thank you.
Cheryl, just to let you know, I'm sending out the slides that she sent me, and I lost track of them because I was working on the disarm stuff and on my own vacation, and also membership committee all at the same time, and it got lost. I will send those to you. I'm glad you could make it at least towards the end. This has been a pleasure, Elaine. I've been talking about this in bits and drabs in various committees of WILPF, and they're finally meeting you and understanding the full breadth of what you've been going through, what New Mexico has been going through.
Well, this will be nationwide, and once NEPA is put under, I mean, we've seen that they've been trying to take away EPA's power every little bit, and this will be the nail in the coffin if this passes. So, everything since 1973 goes down the toilet. And so it's really very serious. And they're just putting money first, basically. And that's keep deregulating and keep the profits to the corporations. And that's basically fascism. This is the last straw here. And I hope people understand that, but we really need to get that phone thing, that phone tree out where people are calling to make sure. But if it's still in committee, I'm not sure, where to direct that to.
I've been calling the Markey and Warren, and I talked with one person in Markey's office, and she wasn't aware, but she said she'd get back with me. This was 5 days ago.
Well, I don't know. Sheldon Whitehouse would know where it's at because he's tracking it.
I will.
And so maybe there, where is this at? Where's the reform at?
I will
you can talk to them the way you see fit, But I'm not sure if you should tell him why you're for or against. You just want to know the stats on it. You might not get it if you're against it because he's trying to do that reform bill and it's not good. It's still not good. So
Does it have a
that's
number?
the issue. They try to make it look like they're doing something, and that's what the reform bill is. It doesn't do anything about NEPA.
What's the
And
number of the Speed Act? Does it have a number?
yeah,
That helps to find.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Get my chat. It's there. Where did I put it?
Senate 1894.
1894. Thank
You'll
you.
get the write-up from the Congressional House bill. Senate, it hasn't been in the Senate. Well, it's sitting in the Senate, basically.
It's sitting in Senate committee somewhere.
Okay,
H-
1894.
HR 4776.
Yeah.
HR.
HR 4776.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that will help. And please, you said you're going to send something else to us.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the sick reports to show the risk exposure and how the state has been investing in private equity. And you might want to talk to different states and different memberships to have them look and to see where their state governments are investing money as well. Because that it's an indirect way of funding these developers, right? Whether they're military or AI or whatever. You fund the stock managers, the venture capitalists, and then they invest that money. And so it's not it's an indirect funding, but they also give them subsidies on tax breaks and IRBs and all these bonds. And then in looking at that, I found out why New Mexico is so poor.
Yeah.
It's just, this is why we're a poor state. Is because they've given it all away, and we need to take it back. And I think we can do it, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be a grassroots support. It has to be a grassroots effort. And I think that it's possible, especially if we can get into talking to Indivisible and some of these other groups that give us time to talk to the crowd, and not push us off the stage. And that's what they've done all the time. So let's hope it gets better.
We'll do our best, and hopefully you can keep us in the loop.
Okay. Let me know if you want to meet again, and we'll try to set something up. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for your time.
I can't tell you again how much I appreciate you and what you're doing.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, too. Ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, wait. Save the
Yeah,
chat.
that was really good, really interesting. So now I guess we'll have the Jane Addams branch meeting now. So anyone who wants to stay for that.
I feel I should.
So so I'm going to go ahead with that because it's getting so late. What I wanted to do was try to get some people in the Jane Addams branch. I was hoping to get a treasurer, secretary, to have different people fill in for, because as of now, there's only a convener, which is me. And I would love to have a co-convener or something like that, some other people that step forward. And so, and then we could, have an actual meeting with discussions and people keeping records. So that's what I was hoping to do tonight.
Mm.
Are they still arguing about whether you're a branch or you have to have another name?
Yes,
Yes.
we're going to have another meeting in August to take the next step, or I should say, continue the process, Mary.
So what is the next step?
We're not sure. I'm going to share the notes as soon as I can get to them. I just got them this morning.
Oh, from the AI, from the
Right, the recording and the AI. I will send you the material so that you can have, we covered so much, and to pull that all together would be very helpful so that we can mince on some of the topics that were brought up and maybe pull them all together. But I understand your frustration, Diane. The number of people that have been dumped on you, in a sense, as branches closed, and I was part of the closing process because these branches were non-functioning. In fact, they had less than 9 people to begin with, never were branches. Those all, and then a couple were branches, but they chose to close. So these people needed a home and needed to get the information. You've been phenomenal in sending out the info, but to keep in touch with these folks, to remind them, in my case, because I'm a membership, to renew their membership, to see if they have commonality with other people in their region, and maybe have small groups within the bigger gathering, or my word, collective of Jane Addams members. Is you need help without a doubt. And I was hoping that some miracle young person under 50 would be able to do that because you've been so busy running for office, basically.
Mary Bricker Jenkins, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
Mary.
I'm not, am I, can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm not real good on Zoom. I just want to say this. Many years ago, I asked the board of WILF US to resuscitate the Jane Addams branch underscore branch. It was important for me personally because I lived in rural Tennessee and I had no other way to connect with WILF. And I know there were other women also who could pay her their dues, but could have no connection with a branch, underscore branch, in capitals. So, looking at the long history of the Jane Addams branch, I asked that the board at that time, to resuscitate the branch. And the sentiment was, and vote were unanimous that we should do this because there are so many people out there that we need and who need us to be part of this organization and, more importantly, this movement. So at that time, the board said, yes, let us reorganize and resuscitate this branch. Shortly after that, and I served as convener for a short time, and shortly after then, I met Diane at a Poor People's Campaign event in Washington, D.C. I understood what her background was, and I asked if she would please consider being our convener. And she said yes. And since that time, she has done extraordinary work. She has brought together people from all over this country who have no other way of participating in being a part of a WILPF branch. And I keep saying branch so that you get the point. We are a branch. Now, some folks have said, with some reason, that we need to have a branch structure. And that is true. We need to have a branch structure. And Diane could explain to you what that is. With that branch structure, we can stop this effort to decertify us as a branch and make us some kind of committee. Now, let me say just a word about why this is important. There are literally hundreds of women and possibly men around this country who have no physical branch near them, who need to have a branch home. The Jane Addams branch provides a home. Those people, in some ways, would be disenfranchised if we were to be designated as something other than a branch that we, in fact, have been for, I think, more than 10 years, uh, because the bylaws require that you either serve on a committee or be a member of a branch in order to run for office. Now, that is tremendously important. Obviously, we have heard tonight from a woman who is unaffiliated with a branch. Would she not be a tremendous member, active member of WILPF? If Jane Addams is decommissioned as a branch, we would lose that opportunity. And we would lose the opportunity for us to come together as sisters, pursuing our agendas, our multiple agendas nationwide, to talk about those when we are not able, to be geographically affiliated with the branch. So the issue here, bottom line, is if the bylaws say we can't be a branch, change the bylaws. Don't change us. Thank you.
Well, that was the idea. And if we can make this, in a sense, virtual branch work together, it would be very helpful. Mary, did you know that I can count on one hand from what Diane says of the number of Jane Addams branch members attend meetings? I'm talking about our meetings.
Right.
They are not part of this. We have Dee Murphy on right now. She is remarkable and is a at large, which we can't really use that word, but you know what I mean. She is a Jane member and is in an office position, very active, but she is unique. That has been the problem from my point of view, but I'm not going to, I'm just hoping you can think that through and maybe join the next membership committee meeting in August when I have it. It would be very helpful. I'm sorry, I bumped you, Cheryl. Please go ahead. And this is your meeting, Diane. If you want to take it on and let me sit back and take notes, I will do that.
Okay, well, I see 4 hands raised, and it's getting so late here. But
Well,
Mary was first, and then Cheryl, I think, was next.
No, I think I was up before Mary Hansen.
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Just because I'm on the bylaws committee, and I've been trying to follow this story. What Mary Bricker just told us about going to the board. So I need to understand. Can you give us the dates, the year when you went to the board and the board said, yes, there can be a Jane Addams branch? This is news to me.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to have that information to feed into discussions, because who was president at that time, and Mary Hanson. You're right. Lots of Marys here.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was me. I think it was the president. I think.
I think
Yes.
so too.
You were. Yes, you
Right,
were,
and
Mary.
so the board was consulted, and they seemed to think that having a branch, calling it a branch of these people who are geographically not in the same place, was an okay thing. Okay, so I mean, was that a vote on the board? Was it in the minutes somewhere of board meetings?
Vote.
These kind of things would be helpful in our discussions of what the bylaws can say and not say. I mean, I know there are over 400 people on Diane's email list. Okay.
That's right.
Now, one would say, well, but there's only, when I came, there were 14 people here. Most of them are actually in branches. I know that, okay, because I recognize their names. But my disarm committee, we have 65 people on the list, and there's only about 20 that we ever see. So it's not unusual for people to, align themselves with an entity, but then not actually come to the meetings. I belong to 50 different organizations, but all they do, I just send them money, and that's good for me. I don't have time to work with 50 organizations, but they want my money. So anyway, I was interested to know about that process. So it would be what, 10 years ago?
Well, let's hear from Mary Hanson Harrison, who was president at the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. What I appreciate most about this branch is that as a convener, I can call up if I have an idea. I can get a speaker and I can actually get it done without going through, well, I'm not going to say what I have to go through, but I really think that we just need a better or more concentrated effort to explain what we are, because I think that what opportunities that we could we have, for instance, you've allowed me to bring 2 or 3 artists on, and we had an excellent presentation from the artists that are members. And I think what we should really say as a voice for members that who don't have the opportunity or the pull to get noticed, or we have something to say, but we never get to say it. Okay. And I think we're more democratic that way. We're more representative, obviously, if we have that many members. And the fact that I think we just need to sort of focus have a focus on the fact that we are open and have an opportunity for lots of members who don't ordinarily get a voice. We have a clutch of people who get over and over and over again, and the same people. And I think if we have an opportunity to draw from more people just to participate, they don't have to have a hierarchy. You may have to have I don't know about the checkbook, but there is a definite description of what a branch is. And we don't have a treasurer and we don't have a checkbook, but we can get them if we sell ourselves, and I do mean sell ourselves, as an opportunity for more members to participate in a more democratic way. Amen. Hallelujah.
Getting back to your question, Cheryl, I think it was 2018 is my theory is when this happened because I took over in 2020.
Yeah, I was president, yeah, then, yeah. Because I really like the idea. And I think it just kind of fell through the cracks a bit. And thank God for Diane. But I do think we need to sell us if we're going to really say, you know, uh, checkbook, is that the big qualifications now, or
For
treasurer?
forming a branch, it's in the bylaws, but not for a current branch. Okay, Darian and then Dee.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
I would like to clarify, as the chair of the bylaws committee, what the bylaws say about running for the board and why they say that. What they say is one has to be an active member of an issue committee or a branch for at least a year. And or any national level committee. There are a number of board standing committees, and there are also ad hoc committees. Being a member of a national committee of any kind, or an active member of a national committee, or an active member of a branch, gives one the experience, we hope, with WILPF and how it functions that is a good foundation for being a board member. We have encountered difficulties when people get on the board and really don't have any clue how WILPF functions nationally, and so they don't understand how to be an active and useful board member. None of this is anything against the Jane Addams group, and I really support the idea of there being a group of people who get the communications and have, well, we're all invited to these monthly meetings, and that's all excellent. But it's not the same as a branch where people come up with ideas for branch actions, have discussions, and get to know each other over the course of years. Many branches have people that stay in place for a long time. So that's why I think a branch is different from the Jane Addams mailing list or whatever, or the grouping. Thank you.
I don't think it has to remain that way. As I said, it provides for me, in my experience, an opportunity to get heard. And I think as far as experience on drawing people from the board for the board, that could, I think if you have somebody interested already, like I was, I think that we have to think about this a little bit more, as you will know already, as far as knowledge of how the board works, and then we get people that don't know what the board is. I'm not sure that, I don't know how we're going to overcome that, Darian, but possibly feeling like if we can network better or network with people, we'll take a survey of the 400 people. Who are you? Tell us who you are. What are you interested in?
That's, I've been trying to do that. Unfortunately, I can't call 400 people.
No, you do it through a survey online.
People don't always answer the way in a meaningful way is what I'm trying. It's always better to do at least a follow-up with the survey, to work with them. I did a survey when I started this job, what is it now, 2+ years ago. Because there was no membership chair for over a year, Shilpa had stepped down. By the way, who was the membership chair at the time of the establishment of this Jane Addams collective branch gathering, whatever.
Mary, what?
Who was the membership chair? Was there one? Was it Shilpa?
She's got her hand up.
Okay,
Yeah, Mary, go
but
ahead. Mary Bricker Jenkins.
okay, but Dee has had her hand up. I think we should let her go first.
Well, I thought maybe you just answered the question before,
Thanks. I'm sorry.
but okay, Dee.
Thank you, Mary Jenkins. You have two Marys here. It's obvious that you came prepared to speak on behalf of the Jane Addams Collective branch. And I can tell you that I've been on a listserv for a couple of years now. I'm so grateful to the mailers that Diane sends out and the speakers that she hosts through this collective. I am also volunteering on the bylaws committee, and I really initially began completely ready to defend the branch until I found out more information. So knowing that information, for instance, everybody who's at large is rolled into the Jane Addams branch. So we have no idea who the people are that would come out of the woodworks and want to run for the board that have not been active. Out of 400 people, you know, they are now qualified, and we have no idea who they are. But they can say, hey, I've been active on the branch, and, you know, I don't know, you know, whether or not Diane would vouch as to their level of activity. So that's a serious consideration, because many of the people that have been rolled into the Jane Addams branch may not even be aware that they're a member of the Jane Addams Collective branch. And then those that are may be just sitting and waiting and saying, you know what, I've been on this committee for a year trying to run for the board, and we've never heard anything from or about them. So that's a major consideration. Secondarily, as a member of the Jane Addams branch, I don't always attend meetings. I've attended a few. I will acknowledge that, but decisions are being made on behalf of the branch that do not necessarily have an open discussion and engagement. And that does concern me. I, you know, see that the Jane Addams Collective has been signed on to some places that I would not want to have us associated with. So the decision-making process needs to be reevaluated, sorry. And at one point, Diane did come, she's taking leave from the bylaws committee, but she did come a couple of weeks ago and explain how decisions are made and how things are going at this point. The question was asked, how can we make this more resemble a branch, even if it's virtual? Because right now I'm writing language surrounding virtual branches. And so I really needed that input. And what I heard was, there's 500 people in a branch. There's no way we can make collective decisions. So that it's starting to resemble what I'm hearing about a one-way directional listserv as opposed to an interactive branch. And so that's why I do support the idea of calling it a collective as opposed to a branch. And hopefully you can make that membership meeting if you have more to say about, you know, on advocating for this, and can find out more information on the discussions and what's going on with those. Thank you.
So, are there
Mary.
other people before me?
Nope, you're it.
Okay, so I think Dee has raised some important considerations, obviously. The considerations would be raised with any organization that would have what is basically an online branch. I mean, when we wrote the bylaws, and I was very much a part of it back in the day when I was on the board, we didn't have this kind of capacity, this kind of opportunity. So we need a new kind of thinking here that would address the kinds of concerns that Dee is raising and others have raised in a way that has before us at all times the number one question: how do we engage more women and men? How do we engage more people in the mission of WILPF? That is what has to be the number one question that we have to ask. We are absolutely in a new age where we have meetings that are online. We do need to raise this question that people who are not affiliated with a branch are automatically looped into the Jane Addams branch. Maybe we have to look at who's a member of a branch and who's a member of a collective. Right? We can do that. That would require some new kind of thinking to address the new circumstances that are before us, the way we live today. But we always have to ask the ultimate question: how do we engage people, particularly women, in the mission and program of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom? This is something that was behind the original thinking of the Jane Addams branch. And I just want to remind people that when we resuscitated the Jane Addams branch, it was a resuscitation. I had looked at the history of WILPF and discovered that there was such a thing as a Jane Addams branch back in the day for people who could not be a part of a geographical branch because they were too far apart from anybody else. So I didn't propose that we establish a new branch. I proposed that we resuscitated a branch. And that was the vote that was taken. It was affirmative because people said, yes, we have people out there who want to be a part of us and do not have a branch with which they can affiliate. So that was the reasoning behind the resuscitation of the Jane Addams branch. It was proposed to the board when Mary Hansen Harrison was our president. It was voted by the board. It was established as a branch, not an affinity group, not anything else, as a branch. Now, it is true that we have, as have many other branches, sort of drifted away from the bylaws definition of what a branch has to have and be. That can be corrected. But any effort to disenfranchise the women who have participated in meetings like tonight and who have been inspired to move forward as members of WILPF together should not be in any way discouraged from doing so. So please, think about how we can facilitate, how we can make this happen, that we be a branch according to the bylaws. If the bylaws have to be changed, please change the bylaws. Don't change the energy behind and the history behind this branch.
Here, here. I agree, and I think everybody here agrees.
Yeah, my direct response would be to that, though. Can I have one?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Like as previously stated, everybody that signs up.
I don't know who's talking. I'm sorry. Who's talking?
I'm sorry. Oh, I am.
Is that Dee? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dee.
I am the last one to disenfranchise anyone. I think alternatives have been offered, from issue committees to standing national committees to ad hoc committees. If someone wants to come in and be a part of the organizational structure, the people doing all the work behind the scenes. I don't know that everyone that is ad hoc that signs up and is automatically rolled over to Jane Addams should necessarily qualify as an active branch member. And I'm wondering, what suggestions you might have to address that.
D, off the top of my head, I can't reply. I just, I am sure there's a reply to that. There may be a way to structure the branch uh, in such a way that people are committed members of the branch and others who are
Yeah.
just add. I think that's the answer. People need to sign up for the branch. People should not be looped into the branch. They should be proposed to the branch and then have an opportunity to say, yes, I want to be a member of this branch. I think that's probably the way to do it. But there are probably other ways also. I agree it's a concern. I don't want Filana de Tal, who has never participated in anything with regard to WILPF, or as a part of WILPF, to say, hey, I want to run to the board. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, now, of course, that can be handled by the fact that people have to say who they are and why they are a member of WILPF and what they have done with WILPF in a statement. I don't think those folks would get a lot of votes, right? But your question, I believe, is a valid one, and I think it can be resolved by not looping people automatically into the Jane Addams branch, but by giving them an opportunity to become active members of this branch.
Thank
I
you.
I will jump in since I have my hand up, just to say that I think this is a valuable discussion, and I'm not seeking to disenfranchise anyone. However, I think there are serious issues, even if people intentionally opt to be in the branch. There are issues when a branch has more than 50 active members, that is 50 people participating in meetings, that moves into a different realm. I don't really understand the attachment to the word branch to describe what seems to me a very different and totally legitimate structure. And I am hoping that we could come to some agreement about what is the nature of a branch. And as Dee was saying, we are looking to put into the bylaws a description of virtual branches so that there could be more virtual branches. That doesn't eliminate the enormous benefit to at-large members to be receiving all of the information that comes through the branches list that Diane so generously provides to them. So there are very important functions that the current grouping serves, and I support those functions, but in the sense of what a branch is and does, I think we can work on refining that definition, but I don't think the definition will ever have room for some place where more than 100 people or even more than 30 people are active members.
Well, I tell you, with the extreme situation that we have with branches, I think what I'm going to follow up with Mary BJ is saying that we need to, or was it probably D, I can't remember, innovative thinking. We have to think. I don't see anything wrong with 50 people in a branch. I mean, hello, we need a branch. We have lost so many branches. It looks like a deforestation of our organization. So we have to think differently. And 50 members of a branch, using our technology is no big problem. It would be if we had to feed them coffee and cake. I mean, there is a wonderful advantage that we don't have that sort of institutional or architecture to a meeting anymore. So I guess it's opening a discussion, and I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you. very much for who's, especially I'm glad to see Mary BJ back there. Yay!
I had a question I put in chat for the members here who are part of branches. At what point do you consider a member inactive? Is it after a year if they don't come to a meeting, or is there a way that that's kind of, are they considered a member still, even if they're signed up with a branch and never show up? Or
At this point, I can answer that question. I inherited this mentality from Shilpa and Jan. Anybody who is just hooked in by communication, that could be just virtual and not attending meetings, is still a member, especially if they're paying dues. It seems to key around dues paying more than anything, and their wish to remain with the branch. Otherwise,
so are all of the 250, 500 estimated people that are rolled into the Jane Addams branch current under dues, or?
no. In fact, that's an issue that I've brought up with Diane. I've been asking with some help to call those folks who are getting into the, over 1 year and a half since they pay dues. I'm trying to keep as many members as possible. Although we're bringing in a lot of new members right now, our numbers are good on that category. It's a constant work on the part of Shelby, Jan, and I, and it's a combination of us actually getting on the phone or contacting the liaison for a branch, saying, "Hey, some of your members are getting behind. Could you give them a ring? And if you need help, we'll help you." That's how we've been handling it so far. We don't want to lose members, and it gives us a chance to chat and update, and that keeps them in the loop. This used to be a hired job before I joined, for sure. So, and well, a lot of things happened before I joined, including losing an office in, what was it, Philadelphia or Washington, D.C.? I don't remember.
Philadelphia.
Austin.
I remember it well.
Yeah, good old Philly.
Yeah, and yeah, that has been a problem because a lot of the movers and shakers are on the Cape Cod right now, which is Massachusetts, and I connect with them, and some of them talk to me, some don't.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending, but it's 10 o'clock my time. It's past 10 o'clock, and that is my bedtime. So I am leaving, and I think that we've covered enough. So anyway, thank you all. And I thought this guest speaker was so good. So thank you, Eileen, for
She was
extraordinary.
wonderful.
Yeah, she's
There's a great example of why we need the Jane Addams branch. Okay.
And she's an artist, and honest to God, I've never seen anybody so prolific as far as writing and very just stick it in there and standing up. It's just she needs a medal. We should give her one. We should give her one. We should give medals out.
Yeah, and I'd love to have her back on to see how things are going, because I had some questions I couldn't ask. There was some, it was getting so late. So anyway, okay. Well, thank you all.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to see everybody.
To be continued.
Mary, please come to the membership meeting, both Marys, in August if you can. We really need you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention to my spiel. Thank you.
Oh, always.
Dee, I want to talk more with you. And Darian, we've been together for 30 years. We got to work this out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
for now. Save the chat.
Brian can't.